We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall's with us this morning, talking a broad range of topics. Immigration's a big one. We're going to get to the calls in a second. Real quick question for you, and Joe kind of touched on this in terms of how things are managed in the metropolitan government. And some people were talking, I don't know, you've probably heard about it, where they've discussed the concept maybe with our overworked police force of possibly the idea of the Sheriff's Department taking over traffic operations. What's the thinking on that?
Yeah, and this is something, by the way, this came up years ago with Chief Surpass and he and I talked about it. I mean, here's a fascinating thing that people don't think about. The Metro Charter says that the police department, sheriff's office can't do the same thing. Okay. It really separated our duties, but it didn't say who's doing what, really. It says you can't do the same thing. But over the years, and kind of the way it's always worked is they do criminal investigations and criminal enforcement, if you will. We do civil. That's divorce, garnishments, orders of protection, the $200,000 a year we're out there doing. So we do all civil, they do all criminal, and you try to keep that line pretty clear. Traffic is civil. Okay, 98% of traffic is I bumped into your car. That's a civil action. Where now, if you've got a pound of cocaine in the back, it turns into a crime, but the accident is civil.
And same thing with writing traffic tickets for speeding?
Well,
or would that be under that umbrella?
Well, and we can talk through two pieces. One of them would be the enforcement of traffic laws, and you could probably argue that the police enforce those laws, but the civil actions, this is what they told me at the time, over 100 a day accidents where people are bumping into each other.
So that would be a biggie. If you took that off the Metro PD's plate, if they're that overworked, and if you had the means, would you want to do that? Does that make sense?
It's the right thing to do, and here's why. So you're paying a fully sworn police officer, and I'm going to just round up here, $60,000 to $70,000 a year by the time everything in a few years and all that on first shift to pull up and fill out civil papers for an accident in your parking lot or in the street out here. You don't need to be fully sworn police officer to fill out civil documents. We do civil work everywhere else in the community. Our staff are paid less. They should be paid less. They're good at what they do, but they're not fully sworn police officers. What they're doing is they're on their way to a business to serve a garnishment because you're being sued over something. So that's important. But if there's a car bumping into one another on Broadway, they could literally serve or fill out the paperwork on their way to serve other civil process. We would have to grow our operation. There's no doubt about that. What I think you could do if you wanted to is you go to the police department and you say, look, how many of these a day are you spending resources, tremendous resources on? If we decided, I'm making a number up, 50 people. Move those 50 people to the sheriff's office, positions, not people. Reduce the cost of doing it down to what we would pay them. Move the police officer people, if they got vacancies now because they're having trouble finding. If you just dissolve those 50 positions because you don't need to enforce traffic anymore, then all police officers that you're really thinking about are in this community enforcing criminal law. We would be doing all the civil actions. And so now what happens is, and this is not unusual, there's gray out there. If a person is killed in a car wreck, the investigation of that, they have a fatal accident review team. That's easy to assign to. I mean, you would just have to be careful. We pull up on the scene, there's a DUI. We would stay there, obviously detain the person and let the police overtake the criminal investigation. We do that now. We knock on the door to serve a divorce paper. You got marijuana growing out both windows. We notify the police, we stay on the scene. So it's not unusual. You would just have to have a commitment from the mayor, the police chief, and whoever the sheriff is to say, let's make this work. It's doable. It's probably the right thing to do. I'm not begging for it as in we want more to do, but the city, when you're asking us how to save money and really change the landscape, I think, of the police department that helps them, I think it's a significant step. It would take a commitment. I've talked with Chief Anderson several times. He's not against it either. We're communicating about it.
Okay, I was going to ask you, and you probably haven't checked with the mayor, but the chief at least seems open-minded. I haven't had a chance to ask him about that. But
we've had talks, and we have lunch once a month, and we talked about it just a few days ago. And yeah, I mean, it would take the mayor, because what you'd have to say is, I'm making up a number here, we're going to move 50 positions out of here, and if you do the math, that's, let's just say $2 million. I don't know. We would only need $1.4 million.
Because you paid them less.
We pay them less.
Right.
And then our positions are saving you money, and the police positions that are vacancies now because they're trying to do all the civil work dry up. And my thought is they literally would be spending their time what you pay them to do.
in a lot. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Do you think that's going to move forward? Would it be?
The mayor, the new mayor, just bumped into me and said something about in your new headquarters. Would there be space if you take over traffic? I said yes. I mean, so we're not into deep conversations about it, but it's still floating around as a cost saving.
Sounds like it would save taxpayers dollars. It would free up more police officers to fight crime,
right.
And it's something that you can accommodate.
The grand
seems
jury
to make sense. It's a civil
recommended it. I didn't even know that. That came out in the news 2 weeks ago. Recommended doing that. So it would align civil work where it belongs and separate criminal again, and maybe a step in the right direction.
All right, let's go to Brian. Brian, good morning. Hi, Brian.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Brian. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Hall there. I ran into him out on the sidewalk one time down at the courthouse, and I asked him if he thought the old jail was haunted. And this being Halloween, I thought I'd ask him this question. Plus, he done about this new jail being built down there about getting the ghost out of there. And I'll leave it to it and let you answer that, Mr. Hall.
We're just up against the last few minutes. It's a good, lighter subject to end on, I suppose.
We need more Brians in the world.
Well, was the old jail haunted, the one that's been torn down, and will the new jail inherit those ghosts?
Well, I can only say it was a spooky place.
Yeah, no kidding.
And we did some stuff toward the end of wrapping it up, and there was nobody in there. I think I went in and we did some cameras and pictures and so forth. And it was just an eerie building, and obviously the history to it. If you won't tell anybody, I'll tell you a secret, Brian. We're going to have a few exercises in that building with folks who haven't been charged with a crime before we ever open it up, and we will at least have some experiences with ghosts by ourselves before.
What do you mean? When it opens up, you're going to what?
Well, before we have inmates, we're going to do some trial runs with people who haven't violated the law, as far as I know.
Would you like to try doing that with someone who could then at least vouch for the fact that it's escape-proof? Because I can escape. You go ahead. I'll be part of that. You go ahead and bring me in there as one of them, and I'll lock me up, and let's see if it can hold me. What do you think of that, Carla?
I think if you Google, Nick Barris again,
well, I've never been locked up there. I mean, you've never had a chance.
That's
you never
right.
quite got me behind bars. And if you would like, if there's going to be a dry run in the jail, let me volunteer. I will be among whoever it is you bring in there. I'm not afraid of any ghosts. And let's go see just how secure this jail. When is it going to open anyway?
January 16th.
For real? Is that what it looks like? The 16th?
Yeah, we get the keys to it operationally this Friday. So we will start training this Friday, and we're going to run all the way up until that time. There's a lot to do inside that really,
well,
for
that's
our
cool
sake.
That you're going to get keys, but let me tell you right now, I don't need no keys. Okay, so it's up to you. If there's going to be a dry run beforehand, I think we owe it to the community.
All right, so let me ask you this: if we lock you up and you can't get out, can I run your show?
Well, I mean, you're more than
next
capable.
month?
You could absolutely do it.
I
mean, you could.
Let me ask you something: if someone's birthday was on Halloween, would it be on the same day every year?
I think Mary Elena could answer that question for you.
Well, my understanding is that you didn't realize that if your birthday was on Halloween, it's going to be on Halloween every year.
I still am not sure I'm clear on that.
Well,
and listen, by the way, as far as the jail, will there be loaf served?
We will have alternative meals.
There is a food fight. So all right, so January 16th is what it looks like is the opening target, but between now and there will be some dry runs before.
We have a lot going on over it. We're going to, like I said, we'll get our keys to it. It's kind of we're doing a little ceremonial thing internally just so we can say, hey, now we're going to train, and then we get closer to in January, we're going to have open houses, all sorts of things around at cold time of year.
Of course, want to be in and look at it. It looks great from outside.
It does. I'm really proud of it.
I go by there and I'm like, wow, this thing really seems like yesterday they tore it down, and
our staff deserve it. I can't wait for them to have a place to work that's functional and to their standards. And I don't have to tell you this, but it's built in the wrong place, but it's a fantastic building. Yeah. And it's going to be in a really good place for our staff to operate. And really proud of what it's going to be for the standpoint of the Sheriff's Office, and it represents us. Our Behavioral Health Center will open later. We're not going to open it right away. We can get our booking room.
Someone else asked me that. Is that open first?
Probably a couple of months, 6 weeks after. We want to get booking working and healthcare and all that operational before we just open the other side, because you will arrive and then you'll be diverted directly into mental health in our new center. We want to get this side operational first.
I sure hope that, I expect it will be a successful exercise, in terms of, the mental health portion. And I hope it works wonderfully, and it is a model for jails around the country, where you're going to have people coming to see it because it just makes so much sense. And I know that's one of them that's right at the top of your list of priorities. I know that.
We're excited about it, and physically now the building's there. Anxiety about getting it working and doing it the right way, and I really think we have a chance to decriminalize. That's a word I like. Decriminalize people who are really ill and they need help, and I'm not ignoring their behavior. You can't be naked in the airport. We got to get you out of the airport, but we need to treat your issue, not criminalize you because you don't know what day it is. You're off your medication.
Exactly.
So
I mean, in the long run, get them, whatever help they possibly need, get them back out there so they don't reoffend and contribute to society. Instead of the taxpayer having to shell out money to house all these people.
That's right.
The answer is not more prisons, folk, unless you just like paying for stuff. The answer is finding a way to get these people to stop committing crimes and become part of society again. And that's and what you're doing over there is going to be, I think it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And swinging from a lanyard in the rearview mirror of my little beat-up Miata is a key that you gave me, which was very nice of you from the old jail. Will that key work in any of the locks in the new jail?
It's much more sophisticated, but it represents the history of the facility. We're actually putting a time capsule together and putting some of our history, and the key is one of them. So excited about that too.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you,
see
Nick.
you again in a month.
Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Be back with a programming note right after this.